Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday night, the flagship show of the United Stand, and we've got some big topics to talk to you about tonight. Harry Maguire, is he up for sale? Is he off to Aston Villa? We've also got Wout Weghorst's agent giving an update on what's going on there. Also, João Felix, Atletico Madrid, there's an update coming in from there as well, from the CEO, I think it is. Cup updates, we've got another game coming up next week now that we didn't have a couple of hours ago. We're going to be playing Crystal Palace in less than a week. So Man United's 3 games a week, which I keep telling you about, hits home even more. And what else? Reading at home in the FA Cup 4th round. Happy with that. Paul Ince. Let's see if we can get him on the channel. So yeah, look, really happy about that. And yeah, good draw in the FA Cup. But lots to get into tonight. It's the Sunday night show. Get interactive. Get your questions in. The best community. The legends are in the chat. I can see people already. United are brilliant, but not as good as Brighton, says Alex. Okay. Anyway, let's fly straight into this. Joel says, please make this happen. So, look, story came out a couple of hours ago that Harry Maguire was a move to Aston Villa was very, very close. And look, I'm going to give you my initial reaction to this story, okay? Harry Maguire to Aston Villa makes total sense for everybody. I think at Aston Villa he'd be a good centre-back. I think that's his level, mid-table, sort of mid-table to 8th, you know, maybe even fighting for top 6. I think that's where Harry Maguire is as a footballer. So it'd be a very good move for him. I think it'd be a very good move for Aston Villa because, you know, he brings qualities to their defence that they don't currently have. I mean, they've just been knocked out by Stevenage in the FA Cup. And Man United get a little bit of money, which they can then use towards getting a proper centre-back in the summer that plays the system we want to play. So when I heard it, I was like, well, it won't happen, but tick, tick, tick. It's good for the player, it's good for the club, and it's good for Aston Villa. You know, Maguire isn't as crap as some people think he is. And I think at Aston Villa or Everton or West Ham or someone like that, he'd do a very, very good job. He's just not good enough for Manchester United. He's not good enough for Arsenal. He's not good enough for Man City. He's not good enough for Liverpool. So the problem is Harry Maguire, of course, will not want to go. He will kick and scream and be saying, I'm good enough to start for Manchester United. The official line from Manchester United, and we've been told this, is that the story is not true and that Harry Maguire remains an important member of the squad and captain of the club. So I don't believe this is going to happen. But logically, I think it caught the imagination of a lot of people, not because they don't rate Maguire. I think a lot of people don't rate Maguire as highly as Martinez, Varane or Shaw, and I put myself in that category. But, you know, he's become 4th/5th choice centre-back at Manchester United, and he needs to play regular football. I don't think he will ever be a starting centre-back that plays week in, week out for Manchester United with Erik ten Hag as the manager and United progressing. I think he's a symbol of the past, and he needs to build his own future elsewhere, and was always overly promoted. I mean, he just hasn't been a Man United player. He's not the only one. I mean, I would put a few other players into this category, but as I said, if there was any truth in this, I actually think it would be a really refreshing move for everybody. The fans, the player, this Aston Villa, Manchester United. And you could substitute Aston Villa for Everton, West Ham, Crystal Palace. You know, there's a few clubs I think Maguire could go to and have a good career. And he's 29, he's going to be 30 this year. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And also, from Manchester United's point of view, if Aston Villa gave us 40 million for Maguire, I know that's a 50% loss, but it's a good deal. That's a good deal. But of course, the problem is, and this is the kickback, and as soon as I heard that news this afternoon and people were getting excited, I was just like, in my mind, this isn't happening. And you know why it's not going to happen? Thank you to John Murtagh and Ed Woodward. I think Maguire might not leave in the summer because he's on a 7-year contract. He's only 3 years into it, and he's on 200 grand a week. Who's going to give him a 4-year contract on 200 grand a week? Unless he wants to play first team football, he can dig his feet in and say, I'm a Man United player, I'm putting the captain's armband for the last 2 minutes for the next 3 years, and I'm staying here. And that could be a problem. Now, if we get new owners, they might just bite the bullet and pay him off and get rid of him. But I think that's a big problem for Man United, and that's why I just don't believe there's anything in this. As logical as it is, I just don't think anyone can afford to take him, and we will still have these problems. We overpay and give stupid contracts out, and it makes it very hard to shift players on reasonable deals. Mark, how can you say Ten Hag is manager of the season? Arteta has gone from 5th to winning the league. Also, Ten Hag spent more than Arteta in the summer. Zane, he's got a 72% win percentage out of his first 25 games. Arteta, Klopp, Pep don't even come close. After the worst ever Manchester United Premier League season. And don't talk to me about how much money we've spent. £200 million. We shouldn't have spent £200 million. The players we got were worth 140. We just overpaid by 60 million. Call me cynical, but the fact it makes sense for all parties is exactly the reason why the club will not make it happen, says Stephen. And I can't believe that TalkSport reporter put that unvetted news out about Maguire only to delete it without a rectifying update. Hope you're well, Mark, says Manchild. Look, I purposely haven't put where the information come from, but obviously now people know where it's come from, because I think I know for a fact it's not true. And I think that credibility of that person's obviously going to be in the mud now, and it's very dangerous to put information out there. I also know, can I just add, I also know why Maguire has been linked to Aston Villa, and I'll give you the story now. He was photographed at a restaurant near Aston Villa's training ground last night with, I believe, his brother, who I think is part of the agency that he is managed by. So people put 2 and 2 together. They didn't get Matic. They got they got the answer they wanted to. Now the reality of the situation is he was playing golf at the Belfry, which is also very, very close to Aston Villa's training ground. So Maguire was playing golf yesterday and has gone for a meal close by, and people have gone and said he's going to Villa. It's not happening. Hi Mark, love the show, especially all of the watch-alongs. A little off topic, but why don't you upload the United Stand to Spotify as a podcast? So I just can't. It's on a massive list of things that we need to do, which we haven't done yet. So, yeah, Maguire isn't leaving. He's important for many matches to come, says she. And Maguire, I mean, look. I believe in this. Would you sell Maguire? You know, it's a democracy. Would you sell Maguire? There you go. Yes or no, go for it. Personally, I'll give you my answer now. I wouldn't sell him in January unless we're getting a replacement in, which we're not. Why would you go down to three first choice centre backs in January? So yeah, I think it's difficult. But there we go. What do you think about Ronaldo at Nasser? I'm definitely not talking about that, mate. Go and jog on and find someone who wants to talk about Ronaldo at Saudi Arabia. I mean, fucking hell, 2 months ago maybe. Not interested now. We're Manchester United. Yeah, it's an interesting story on Harry Maguire. It raises a lot of points, but there is absolutely nothing in it. And ultimately, you know what? I think what it does do is it just enhances the general opinion that people would like Harry Maguire to go. McNeil getting a loan move down the lower leagues apparently would be an amazing experience in for Raz. Yeah, I'd love to see Charlie McNeil go and get some first team football somewhere else. I think everyone would be very interested by that. So Harry Maguire is not leaving Manchester United in January, despite this unsubstantiated story that he was a couple of hours ago. Yeah, he was near Aston Villa's training ground, but he was playing golf and he went for a meal afterwards, and people have run away with themselves there. It would make a lot of sense for everybody to sell Maguire, but I just think we all know Harry Maguire's character, and in a way it's a good character. He's stubborn, he's the captain of the team, he doesn't want to leave. He's got 4 years left on a 200 grand a week contract. He's not Phil Jones because he is fit, but I think he'll go kicking and screaming. I think it'll be very difficult to get rid of. In fairness to TalkSport, the reporter deleted TalkSport from his bio not long after tweeting. Also, have you seen with loan rules, we can only have 2 players in on loan unless it's with an obligation, says Joshua Bellwater. That's very interesting. We've got Shaw now as centre-back. It's time to go, Harry, says Malps. And going to Derby at weekend, never been happier, says James. Yeah, what a week we've got. Anyway, let me just give you a quick... I want to talk about Weghorst. I want to get into your questions. I want to talk about the João Felix update from Atletico Madrid. I want to talk about Richard Arnold's comments about the sale of the club and John Murtaugh's comments, which are absolutely hilarious if you watched the show this morning. Basically, he's saying we've got to be careful about financial fair play because of what we spent in the summer. And I felt like kicking my laptop. I was like, our director of football has got the balls to come out and say we've got to be careful about financial fair play in January, when the only reason we've got to be careful about financial fair play in January is because of you. Because you overspent on Anthony and Martinez. You overspent by 50 million quid. The only reason financial fair play matters is because you overspent. And yet you're coming out with comments about, wow, we spent big in the summer and we can't spend in January because of financial fair play. You overspent. If you'd got Anthony in June, you would have got him for about 50 million quid, which is 35 million than you spent at the end of the transfer window because you were desperate. And if you'd gone for Martinez earlier, you'd have got him for about 40 instead of 55. So, I mean, I just don't think they think sometimes. Fancy coming out as the director of football and talking about financial fair play when you're the reason we're in danger of hitting financial fair play because you overpaid. And, you're off on bloody holidays all over and coming back with nothing apart from a stick of rock when you went to Turin and Barcelona. Maguire will lift many trophies for United. Ten Hag is man managing and developing him. Red Army, yeah, all right, wake up. I fear the Glazers will manage to get investment in to keep them in charge. Arnold and Murta seem so confident to stay. Should we be worried? I want to talk about that in a little bit because I'm very, very confident that the Glazers are going to sell the club, but there's some very interesting comments from Richard Arnold still talking about investment. All I would say is if the Glazers try and stay, I just don't think they'll be. I think fans are still very unhappy. I don't think they'll get away with it, to be honest with you. But I think that they will sell. I think now is the time to crash out. But big update, a very big update. It's quite funny actually because this afternoon I put a tweet out and I basically said, have a little sit back, Goldbridge, why don't you? This afternoon I put a tweet out. So Crystal Palace got knocked out of the FA Cup yesterday and we beat Everton on Friday. Therefore, neither of us are in an FA Cup replay, which is the week after this. So we play Charlton on Tuesday, Man City on Saturday, and then our next game's Arsenal on Sunday, which gives us 8 days off. Not anymore. Not anymore. So because Crystal Palace got knocked out and because we don't have a replay against Everton, we are now playing at one of our games in hand against Crystal Palace on the Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So we've got Crystal Palace. So basically what we've got is we've got Charlton on Tuesday. We've got Man City on Saturday. We've got Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park on the Wednesday. And then we've got Arsenal at the Emirates on the following Sunday. And then if we're in the Carabao Cup semi-final, I think we play the semi-final midweek then. So fast and furious. Lots going on. I'm quite happy. 18th of January. Yes, thank you, Tank. So a lot of people were moaning about that, saying, "Oh my God, it's ridiculous that we've got to play. We've got thanks Premier League. We've got Man City, and they've sandwiched Palace in between Arsenal." And I was like, "Why are people moaning? Do you not keep up to date with what's going to happen?" This is why I think top four is difficult, because I'm very happy we've got Palace because that's got to be played at some point. And what people don't realise is, and we spoke about this a month ago, if we keep progressing in the Cups, we physically can't play Palace or Leeds because every midweek is taken up until the end of May. So this is an opportunity to get one of those games out of the way. We're playing 3 games a week. Slow sports news. Manchester United are going to play 3 games a week until the end of May. I told you we are. This is what's going to happen. This is why I'm worried about top 4. We are going to play every 3 days until the end of May. And so people moaning about the Palace game, where else were you going to put it? Where else are you going to put that game? So I'm happy we're playing it because actually Palace aren't playing very well at the moment and we are. Get the points on the board while we're playing well. But God, we are going to get tired. We will get tired. It's going to be an absolute marathon. It's going to be very, very difficult. 90% of you would sell Harry Maguire. Poor Harry. I wouldn't sell him in January. I'd keep him till the summer because we're not going to get. We're struggling to get a centre back. I'm struggling to get a striker. We're never going to get a centre back in January. So I would put us. I mean, look. I don't think Maguire is the right player for us long term, but short term, I think we need to keep him. United stand sources in the mud. Maguire's staying, says Red Army. I don't know why you're laughing about stuff, mate, because it was United stand sources about 6 o'clock who put it out from Manchester United our source from Manchester United that Harry Maguire is staying. So I don't know what you're talking about. Manchester United stand sources being in the mud, mate, because it didn't come from United stand sources that Harry Maguire was going. And actually, I live in the area and I can find things out from people at Aston Villa because I know he's not going to Aston Villa because he was playing golf at the Belfry near the training ground. So it's got nothing to do with us. That story's not come from us. So jog on, you turbo prat. But yeah, look, Crystal Palace and Reading at home in the FA Cup. What a plum draw this is. Reading at home, exactly what you want. When you beat Everton, you don't want another Premier League club in the fourth round. Very interesting, Man City have knocked Chelsea out. They will probably play Arsenal in the next round. So if we beat Reading, Chelsea are gone, one of Arsenal and Man City are gone. Again, you look at it like the Carabao Cup. We've got a very good chance to go quite far in the tournament as well. So things are opening up for us. We just need to add some depth to the squad. Now, let's get back onto the forward line. Wout Weghorst's agent has come out today and said that talk of him leaving is premature and the goodbye celebration he did last night was not a farewell. So that's the latest on Weghorst, who would love to come to Manchester United, but his agent is saying that talk of him going to Manchester United is premature. It wasn't a farewell celebration last night. So interesting that the Weghorst story is now starting to slow down a little bit. I firmly believe United are trying to do a deal because of where it's, where all the stories are coming from. But as I said this morning, I think it's not going to be as easy to do as possible. It's not as easy to do as people think because Besiktas want compensation, Burnley want some money, and it might not be as cheap as United want. But what I would say is, as long as we get João Felix, I don't care whether we get, if we get João Felix, I don't mind if we get Wout Weghorst or Dumbledore. It doesn't matter to me, as long as we get João Felix. That's the player I think is most important. I was saying it on Twitter this afternoon. If Bruno Fernandes needs a rest or gets injured, who's playing at number 10? Dramatic pause. Who's playing at number 10? If Ronaldo never did the interview and stayed on at the club, how were they going to pay his wages if we broke as a club watching from South Africa? Very good point, Ryan. Very, very good point. So, trust me, if Bruno gets injured or he needs a rest, who's playing at number 10? Eriksen. Exactly. Eriksen, who he doesn't like playing at number 10 because he wants him to link the midfield. So you put Eriksen at 10. Who plays in Eriksen's role? Fred. He can't link the midfield. So this is what I'm talking about. We're all going on about a striker. Oh, we need a striker. We do. But number 10 is quite important in our position. And we haven't got a backup to Bruno either. Especially with this Donny injury. So João Felix can play in 4 positions in the attack. And he's available on loan. That's the deal we need to do. If we get Weghorst when we've already got Felix, I'm happy. I'm like, you know what? Weghorst gives us something different. He does. If we're losing 1-0 at, I don't know where Leeds, we're losing 1-0 at Ellen Road, and it's 15 minutes to go, and they're parking the bus, and we're whipping crosses in, and no one's getting anywhere near them, and you bring 6'6" Weghorst on. Wow, that's a really good option. I don't mind us getting Weghorst as long as we get João Felix. But what do you think the chances are of us getting 2 people in? Thanks for all the great content. All the United stands. Keep up the guys from South Africa, says Tammy. I just want to give a big shout out to South Africa as well. I know we get loads of people watching from there. So big shout out to you. Big shout out to everyone. But we've had a couple of comments from South Africa tonight. So I do want to give them a big shout out because I know there's a lot of people out there who watch it. Big Man United fan base. And hopefully one day they'll go back and do another tour. I don't think they've done one since the early 90s? Yeah. You can jog on with Sancho at number 10, by the way. I'm not talking about that. Bloody Sancho at number 10. He can't even play for Man United on the wing. He doesn't track back, and you want him to play as a number 10. Get him back in the team first before we start putting him as a number 10. Premier League clubs may not register more than 2 players on loan at any one time, says Khalid. Well, that's a problem then, isn't it? I think that's what Joshua Bowwater was on before. So we can't get 2 people on loan, which surprises me that you can't have 2 people on loan. So yeah, we're not going to do it. But I would like to get both on loan. But we're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be one or the other. And I've got to be honest, if we just get Weghorst, I don't think it massively moves the needle. I think it gives us a different option, but I don't think it massively improves our chances of getting top 4 because he can only play in one position. He can't play left wing. He can't play number 10. He can only play up front. So we do need a player like that. We do, but I do worry about. I see a lot of you getting into Bruno and saying Bruno's a bit wasteful today, but we have got no alternative to Bruno. Like there is zero alternative. Eriksen is not really there to do that role, and Donny can't. So it is an interesting one, and that's why I want João Felix. Now, the interesting update from Atletico Madrid today, it was either their director of football or CEO. He said that there could be a scenario where João Felix ends up staying at the club, but he openly said, obviously the problem is between the minutes and the manager and the player. And it's not ideal, but it would be a nice scenario if he ended up staying. But because of what I've just mentioned, there might be a situation where he moves on. I think João Felix will leave Atletico Madrid, and I think United have to deliver that player. I just look at it like this. Mark, when are you playing Football Manager again? Says Liam. I don't know, mates. I don't know. Hopefully soon. Apparently Felix is starting for Atletico Madrid today. So look, maybe he will stay, maybe he won't stay, but. I look at this, I think a few United fans, and maybe a few of you tonight, saw that Crystal Palace game and went, what the hell's going on? It was almost like it was a shock, but we have been talking about it for all season. Welcome to the Members Club, Keenan. Thanks for joining and supporting the channel. We have been talking about this for a very long time. When I was talking to Ben Foster, when I'm asked about top 4 and I say I don't think we'll get it, and everyone goes, oh, stop being so pessimistic. It's based on one thing. I personally think Ten Hag is manager of the year so far. I think he's been brilliant. I think the team is brilliant. But I also know the intensity of this season is going to be a killer. And that's why I'm not putting us in the top 4, because I think we're going to... I saw that Aston Villa game and I saw 3 points thrown away before the game was even kicked because we were too tired. I think it's going to happen if we've got no rotation. I'm Victor from Kenya and I love the content, says Victor. Hi Mark, fantastic day yesterday watching my beloved team beat Newcastle. What do you think of Man United getting Reading next round? Really happy, Alfie. Really, really happy. Sell Brendan Williams and Palestri and buy Weghorst and get Felix on loan, says Mojo. And welcome to the Members Club, Matthew Reed. So look, the interesting thing is, and I'll just repeat this and just to hammer it home, the reason we need João Felix and the reason we need Weghorst, but certainly we need João Felix, is since the World Cup, since we came back from the World Cup, let me just read this out to you, okay? And I can go further. You have got Nottingham Forest on the Tuesday after Boxing Day. Then we played Wolves on the Saturday. Then we played Bournemouth on the Tuesday. Then we played Everton on Friday. We're playing Charlton on Tuesday. We play Man City on Saturday. We play Crystal Palace on the Wednesday. We play Arsenal on the Sunday. We'll play a Carabao Cup semi-final if we beat Charlton midweek. Then I think we'll play Reading. Then we'll play the second leg of the Carabao Cup that midweek. Then we'll have a Premier League game. It's every 3 days. And it never changes, because then you're into February and we're playing Barcelona midweek, two of those. I'm not messing about. It never stops. It's relentless. It's every 3 or 4 days Man United are playing. And I'm getting a bit stressed myself here because I know it's happening. But I think some people are waking up to the fact. When I said we're going to play 3 games a week for 5 months, I think people didn't realise we're going to play 3 games a week for 5 months. How is Rashford, Bruno, Varane, Casemiro and others going to play 3 games a week for 5 months? It's impossible. And every one of those games, you have to win. All right, Reading at home, you can rotate. That's why I liked that draw. I was like, that we can rotate. But most of the games, you can't rotate. Even against Bournemouth, when we rotated, David De Gea had to be world-class to stop a couple of goals going in. So, yeah, I don't think Weghorst is enough. I think you've got to get somebody in who can play multiple positions, and I think that's why he wanted Gakpo. No matter who we get, it won't be good enough as João Felix because he can play in different positions, which is just what we want at the moment, says Govind. Welcome to Members Club Sihil. And hi, Mark. Neil from South Africa. Felix is the best option to go with. He's the complete package. I just think we definitely do need a striker. There's no doubt about that. We do need a striker. But I think it's becoming more and more obvious to me that we need a player that can play 2 or 3 positions. Because if you bring in Thuram or Weghorst, they give you an option, but they can only play in one place as a number 9. But you bring João Felix in, and Martial's playing well, and Rashford's playing well, but Bruno needs a break, play João Felix in Bruno's position. If Bruno's playing well and needs a game, put João Felix in Rashford's position. If you want to play Rashford and Bruno, put him in Martial's position. That, to me, is so important when you're playing 3 games a week, every week. And there was something else I wanted to bring in as well, because I saw Samuel Luckhurst was on about this, and he's absolutely spot on. So basically, what is likely to happen for Manchester United is that if we beat Reading at home, which we probably will, and Leeds don't have a replay in the 4th round, we will probably end up. So, as I say, let me just repeat. It's crazy what we're doing, but this is what we're doing. Charlton on Tuesday, City on Saturday, Palace the following Wednesday, Arsenal the following Sunday, Carabao Cup midweek that week, which will probably be the Wednesday, FA Cup the following weekend, which is Reading, Carabao Cup midweek the following week, Palace at home, and then we've got a spare midweek where we will probably play Leeds away, and then we'll play Leeds at home on Saturday, and then we'll play Barcelona midweek, and then we'll play Leicester at home on the weekend, then we'll play Barcelona midweek, then we'll play Brentford at home, and then you're into March. So it's like, look, if you like watching Man United play, which I do, three games a week until March at least. It's a crazy amount of games, and that's why I'm not trying to bore people to death talking about the fixture list. There's actually a point to it. 3 games a week until early March. We can't sit here going, we've got no money. We just can't. Premier League clubs may not register more than 2 players on loan at any one time. We can't get both, says Lone Wolf Gamer. And all other teams have to deal with the fixture overload. Void point for me, says Tywin. Wrong, Void. Tywin. I mean, you've just exposed yourself as a turbo prat, haven't you? We're not in the same position as other clubs. We're not in the same position as other clubs at all. You can't just sit there and say the fixture overload is the same for everybody. It's not. Of course it's not. Chelsea aren't even in the FA Cup anymore, or the Carabao Cup. And they haven't got to play a Europa League qualifier. Arsenal haven't got to play a Europa League qualifier. Not in the Carabao Cup. Newcastle, not even in Europe, and not in the FA Cup anymore. So straight away, and that's just teams off the top of my head, nobody's got the same fixture overload as us. And also, some of those teams have got better squads than us as well. So our issue is unique. We've got more games to play than everybody else, and we've got distinct issues in relation to squad. Starting to go GoFundMe page for United to sign someone, says Paul Crampton. So I don't look. I'm taking the piss out of Tywin really, but maybe it's Richard Arnold under a different name. Tywin Lannister. He was a tyrant as well. Yeah, we're not in the same. I mean that actually is the sort of thing that Man United Glazers would put out there. Everyone's in the same boat, but we're not in the same boat. We've got more games than everybody else, and Bolt says Newcastle might be a problem. Newcastle are a bloody big problem. They're not in Europe, and now they're not in the FA Cup, so they're getting weeks off that we're not. They're playing a game at the weekend and a game the following weekend when we're going weekend, midweek, weekend, midweek, weekend, midweek. With a loaded schedule, but hopefully with a Felix signing, Ten Hag could manage the squad till March, as Lee. Yeah, I think João Felix is so important, but whether we'll do it or not. What's the odds on getting Depay over Felix? I wouldn't rule Depay out, Dale. I really wouldn't. I've got to be honest. I might be completely wrong on this, but my hunch is we won't get Weghorst. And I wouldn't disagree with somebody if they said, I'm 90% sure we're going to get Weghorst. It's going that way. You're right. But I've just got a feeling we won't get him. I've got a feeling that we've misread it. I think we thought we were going to get him for cheap, but so no, I don't think it's true. Fabrizio's on the show with me tomorrow at about 2:30. He's just put a tweet out saying reports of Harry Maguire deal done with Aston Villa are now denied by all parties involved. No negotiations or talks ongoing. Maguire is expected to stay at Man United. The position is very clear. Well, that's very, very true. So, you know, we were a little bit quicker than you, Fabrizio, but it's true. I think we tweeted it out at about 6 o'clock. Samuel Luckhurst also says that sources close to Maguire say they have found the feverish speculation laughable after Maguire was supposedly spotted in Birmingham over the weekend. Maguire is believed to have gone to the Belfry to play golf. That is true. I don't think Maguire will find it laughable, to be honest, that most United fans were absolutely ecstatic at the fact that he was going to go. I don't think he will be, you know, in fairness to him, I don't think you would be sat at home having a cup of tea laughing about the fact that you've been linked with Aston Villa when you see how many people want you to actually go. You know, you can put a brave face on it as much as you like, but, you know, the writing's on the wall for Harry, isn't it? There's not many United fans that want to keep him. Although I must give a shout out to Jamie, who does he's our website editor. He would give Maguire a new contract. He loves him. So, you know, I feel that we have to, you know, give both sides. And there are people like Jamie out there who really value Harry Maguire and think he's good enough and would give him a new contract. I mean, I don't know how... I meant to say that to you, Jamie. I don't know how you give Harry Maguire a new contract because he's still got 4 years left on 200 grand a week. So I don't know how you'd give him a new contract that's going to take him to 33. I think Jamie'd give him a contract till he's 50, to be honest. But a big fan of his and part of the United stand. So look, we're diverse. Don't talk to us about equality. You know, we've got people who would, you know, probably make McTominay striker. So there we go. I've always said the website was shit. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. Mark, somewhere, sometimes in this fixture mess without any signings, what should we prioritise? Top four, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Europa, or either of the two, says Mojo. That's a good question. I want to talk to you about what Richard Arnold said now and what John Murtagh have said. But no, I think that is a good question. I don't think we're at that point yet, but I think we will be at that point. So, yeah, look, you're right. I think that there is a scenario whereby... you know, we have to look at what we would prefer because it's impossible to win four things. Having said that, you know, I'd expect us to beat Reading, which puts us into the 5th round of the FA Cup. I'd expect us to beat Charlton, which puts us into the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. I'd expect us to beat Palace next week and hopefully get something out of Man City, which should put us 3rd in the Premier League and firmly in the top 4. And then obviously Barcelona in the Europa League, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what would happen in relation to Manchester United's, you know, priorities, because I think at the moment we don't have to make that choice. What are the chances no one comes in January either due to the club's inaction or missing out on opportunities? Well, no, Stephen, we'll definitely get someone in. We'll definitely get somebody in. Welcome to the Members Club, Fuffy, who's been a member for 6 months. Thanks for tuning in. We've got nearly 20,000 watching. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Smash a like on the video. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock, every morning at 10 o'clock, and everything that goes in between. In fact, in between tomorrow, I'm live with Fabrizio Romano, talking all the latest transfer news. So, yeah, loads going on. And if Maguire to get sold, wouldn't that allow for the club to then pay a few more million to get Felix on loan? Or would... look, let's forget about Maguire because he's not going anywhere. But you could sell McTominay to Newcastle. You could sell Maguire. You could sell Wan-Bissaka. You could generate 20, 30 million pounds like that. But United aren't looking to do that. So, you know. Have you read Ten Hag's biography, says Callum? And no. And if Maguire to get sold, wouldn't that allow for a club to... I've done that one, haven't I, from United app. Well, let's listen to what these are direct quotes from Manchester United's director of football. And then we're going to hear from Richard Arnold as well. John Murtagh has been speaking about the latest at the latest Manchester United fan forum in mid-December. As always, the main focus remains on... This is what he said. As always, the main focus remains on the summer window, and we're already well underway with our planning for next summer. How are you underway with your summer transfer plans when we might have a new owner and you might be out of a job? How does that even work? That's just polished turd. Like that's just deflection. That is pure spin. I don't know whether they still employ Neil Ashton, but that is pure spin. We're always focused on the summer window, and we're already on well. And I can't. You know what? I'm not gonna just move past this. As always, this is Manchester United's director of football. As always, the main focus remains on the summer window. Will this club wake up and get into the 2020s? Why, as always, are you focused on the summer transfer window? Maybe this is why you fail. Why, as always, what makes you select your words like that? As always, we're focused on the summer transfer window. Why would you reflect on the past as a recipe for success in the future? As always, we're focused on the summer transfer window. Have you not seen the last 10 years? Well, you have, because you've been here working on it. How can you say, as always, when you're trying to spin a positive? The last 10 years, we've spent £1 billion and may as well have burnt it. It's been a mitigating disaster. And you say, as always, our focus is on the summer transfer window. Why would you refer to the past, which is a failure, when discussing the future to motivate your fan base? And secondly, why are you so focused on the summer transfer window? Why would you publicly admit, as always, we're focused on the summer transfer window? Why? You haven't got the secret. We've not won a trophy for 5 years, mate. Maybe you need to stop saying, as always, we're obsessed with the summer transfer window, and you need to do what other clubs do. What did Newcastle do last January? They bought 3 or 4 players and they didn't just stay up, they comfortably stayed up. What did Spurs do last January? Brought 2 players in on loan and they got top foot. Hey, there's a message for you. Bentancur and Kulusevski, they were 2 loan deals. How did they do that then if you can only have 1? That's one for the boffins in the chat. So yeah, look, Murta keeps talking about this summer obsession. That's just Glazonomics. They want to spend in the summer because it's the end of the financial year. It's got nothing to do with football. And then he goes on to say, we're not going to sign players for the sake of making signings. Okay, so Gakpo was Ten Hag's number 1 target. João Felix is available, but you're not going to do it for the sake of making signings. So that's a load of nonsense straight away, because Ten Hag wanted Gakpo and Felix. So you can't say we're not going to do it for the sake of it. You're not doing it because you haven't got any money. You also need to remember, this is the best bit, this is a direct quote, you also need to remember that we invested over £200 million in the squad last summer, and as a club, we need to remain financially disciplined and compliant with financial fair play. I nearly fell off my chair. I've nearly fallen off my chair. So the director of football is saying you need to remember that we invested over £200 million in the squad last summer, and as a club, we need to remain financially disciplined. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What am I reading? What am I reading? Oh my God. The director of football of Manchester United in the same sentence has said we spent £200 million and we need to remain financially disciplined. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's actually said in the same sentence, who's on the fan forum? Why didn't you say something? The director of football has just said, we spent £200 million, we need to remain financially disciplined, and we must comply with financial fair play. You've just contradicted yourself more times than I can even figure out in one sentence. We need to remain financially disciplined, we've just spent £200 million. Mate, financial discipline and £200 million doesn't go together. When you spent the £200 million badly. Oh my God. So we're not spending in January because you're bad at your job. That's basically it. I mean, he just delivered it there. We can't spend in January because we've spent too much money in the summer. I just can't believe you put, we need to remain financially disciplined. You've just spent £200 million when a disciplined club would have got Anthony for 50, Martinez for 40, Ericsson was free, Malacia was 12, and Casemiro was 60. So we, instead of spending 200 million, we could have spent 150 if we'd been disciplined. I mean, I genuinely think when they give these statements out to the fans, they think they're walking into a shed with no light and talking to mushrooms that they're shoveling shit on. Like, most people know more about Man United than the CEO and the director of football, and actually know more about what fees should be paid than them as well. It's hilarious that they think they can put a statement out like that and everyone's going to go, you know what, they're talking sense. We need to be more financially disciplined like we were last summer. Amazing they planned for 6 months till the summer, then completely messed that up over an overplay for everyone, says Dazzo. And they contradict themselves so much. Every window they say we will look for opportunities in the market. Felix is a massive opportunity. Go get him and get top four, says Sean. First choice new striker in the summer, says Nathan. Look, we've been saying it for a very long time. We do need new owners. We need a new director of football. We need a new CEO. We need new owners. We need competence instead of incompetence. But we've been saying this for a very long time. Why have Man United got no money in January? Because they spent stupid money in the summer. They panicked in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window. They were trying to go cheap for Arnautovic and Rabiot. And then suddenly they just got desperate. And Ajax didn't just... I mean, Ajax absolutely took us to the cleaners. And obviously we spent a lot of money on Casemiro, which to be fair, actually, you know, I don't think at the time I thought it was desperate, and it was desperate, but we got away with it. He's brilliant. The only feeling that I have at this point about Glazers being terrified they won't sell because we're overpriced, says Iraqi. And if United doesn't spend in January, it's possible that the prospective owners don't want the current board to make any decisions for them, says United have. United aren't spending in January because we spent too much money in the summer. But when you listen to what John Murtagh said there, he thinks that's a badge of honour. He thinks that because he spent £200 million in the summer, that justifies not spending in January because he spent so well in the summer. If he'd done his job properly, we'd have £50 million now, and we'd have Gakpo and João Felix on loan. You know, the sad thing is, if we hadn't overspent by £50 million in the summer, we'd have Gakpo and we could have got João Felix as well. Instead, we're scrapping and scraving, trying to get what we can. A financially disciplined club would have made good deals in the summer and maintained a contingency fund for winter transfers, says Steve. Look, I can't really talk about the Martinez deal because I don't have knowledge on the Martinez deal, but I do know, and look, anybody who was watching the show in the summer will know, I remember the date. June the 10th, really good information from Brazil, close to Anthony, Man United want Anthony. And the video's there, June the 10th. No one else was talking about it. And I said, this is going to hit the UK press in the next few days. United want Anthony and talks have begun. And lo and behold, I think it was 2 days later, it was being discussed by the UK press. We bought him at the end of August. If we'd have followed up on June the 10th to Ajax, who were losing players all over the place, if we'd have gone in for Anthony in June, and we'd have offered, all right, I'll be a bit generous, 55 million, they would have took it. The reason it cost us 85 was because Ajax didn't want to sell and Anthony went on strike, and it got to a point where Ajax were like, well, he doesn't want to be here, he's on strike, you know, he's burnt his bridges, let's take United for as much as they can. We could have got Anthony 100% for 30 million less. And you know, we were actually openly trying to get him on June the 10th, and it took 3 months to get him, and we spent 30 million quid more than we should have done. Now that 30, look, somebody might be right, Martinez probably the same. Nothing against Anthony and Martinez, I want both of them at the club and I want them both to do well, but we're talking about why we can't spend in January. This is completely financial, and it's because we fucked up a couple of deals big time. I mean, look, and if anybody doesn't want to remember that, can't remember at the end of June, we got Michael Keane's brother, who's a football lawyer, to come in at the end of June. We were in big trouble. Last summer was an absolute mess. Ten Hag and the players that came in, big thumbs up. How we got to that point, absolute carnage. It was a mess. We didn't buy anybody. We didn't take any new signings on tour. Martinez came in at the end of July. Ericsson came in the middle of July. Malacia, I think, came in at the start of July. Casemiro and Anthony didn't come in until the end of August. So it was a mess. Zombie says, Happy New Year, mate. Glazers won't spend as they took no dividends in January. They are narcissistic businessmen. Thank you very much for your super chat there, pal. I do have some quotes to bring you from Richard Arnold. Now, I'm a bit worried because I think people are still in shock by the comments from John Murtagh, but we'll move on from those because Richard Arnold's are a little bit better. So basically, Richard Arnold has said that Any new investors in the club will be urged to work closely with the fans and express their hope potential full or partial sale will prove a positive step forward. Now, there is a bit of a concern here. There is a bit of a concern, and it would be remiss of me not to focus down on it. He does keep mentioning investments, partial sale. They are still using that line. And, you know, that has to be considered a concern, because until we know what's going on, it will make people concerned. So this, again, was from the fan forum in the middle of December, which I don't know why it takes a month for these comments to come out, but they have come out. But these are direct quotes from Richard Arnold. He says, "We can't say a great deal beyond what we announced in our statement. The club is conducting a strategic review to explore options for attracting new investment into the club to enhance the club's future growth opportunities." That's not a very good update, is it? "As part of the process, the board will consider all alternatives, including new investment into the club, a sale, or other transactions involving the company. This will include an assessment of several initiatives to strengthen the club, including stadium and infrastructure redevelopment, expansion of the club's commercial operations on a global scale, each in the context of enhancing the long-term success of the club's men's, women's and academy teams, and bringing benefits to fans and other stakeholders. When and in what form that investment comes remains uncertain, but I feel confident in saying it will be a positive process for the club because we all understand the capital needs that we have in terms of redeveloping the stadium and training ground while continuing to build a winning team." He wants the fans forum to be strengthened in recent years as well. And it's clear, he says, it's clear that the fans will be integral to the success of Man United under any new ownership model, and we see this body as an important part of the club's governance structure irrespective of what happens with the strategic review. But look, you know, it is what it is. There's not really a massive amount more to say on the ownership model. I suspect and understand there are still a lot of United fans out there that can't stand the words where they mention investment, because that could mean the Glazers stay in charge and they get investment. What I know is that the Glazers have been trying to get investment for a few years now. They've been trying to get the investment into the club. They've been trying to, sell 30% and keep 70% and use that money to build a stadium. I think the sale of the club will happen, and I think it will be the end of the Glazers. And therefore, hopefully, it will be the end of the board and the end of the director of football and everybody. And we have I'm not saying, look, I want Murta to be sacked and Arnold to be sacked. I'm not saying that. I just think that, you know, this is a new start for Manchester United, and the only thing that should stay is Ten Hag and below, not anything above. We've had 17 years, certainly 10 years of massive failings, and why would a new owner come in and you know, not want to bring their own people in? So. Lee Berman makes a good point. Do you still think they know who the new buyers are after those comments? Look, I'm not naive when it comes to business. Before I started doing this full time, I used to work for a bank in investment banking. You know, large amounts of money moving all over the world. That was my job, was to audit and, you know, investigate that. So I'm fully aware of the financial workings of major business. I'm not totally brilliant at buying and selling businesses. That's not anything I really had anything to do with. But what I do know, and I know people who do know it, is that United keep saying they want to be sold by March. Well, it's the middle of January. If you don't know who the buyer is in the middle of January, how can you sell it? I mean, you can't sell a house in 3 months. How do you sell Manchester United in 3 months? Well, 2 months, 2.5 months. So I think they must know who the buyer's going to be. And you know what? Man United leak like a sieve. Team news, transfers, it's always leaked. But this sale has been so tight-lipped. And the funny thing is, it's not just football journalists, it's business journalists. Everybody knows this is a major scoop and no one's got a clue. But you know what? Liverpool are the same. Liverpool are the same. Who's buying Liverpool? Liverpool fans are the same. They don't know either. So it's been very, very quiet. I presume we know who's buying they know who's going to buy the club, but we don't. Savash says, with their jobs on the line, why would the board prefer and recommend new ownership over investment to the Glazers? New owners will sack the board. And Ince back at Old Trafford, says Daniel Kirk. Yeah. Well, look, Reading at home's a good result for a good draw for us, because you want to be at home and you don't want Man City or something like that. And hopefully, well, Man City or Arsenal will be out by the 5th round, because they're going to play each other if Arsenal beat Oxford. So I think Liverpool, if they beat Wolves, have got to go to Brighton. So Liverpool could be gone as well. I can see the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup being a Manchester derby, both finals. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if both the domestic cup competitions actually end up being Manchester derbies, presuming we avoid each other. Devon says, do you think the Glazers aren't spending out of spite? Maybe. You don't. I don't know. I don't know what the mentality of the Glazers are, other than greed. They might just be, we're not spending anything on these ungrateful fans who've been protesting about us. We want to take as much money as we can and screw them over. I don't know. But the new owners would have something to say about that, wouldn't they? If I'm buying United, I'd be absolutely kicking and screaming. Look, if I was buying Man United, I'd be fully aware of you. I'd be fully aware of this. You know, whether people like it or not, the United Stand is the biggest Manchester United fan community, and we talk about everything, and we talk about both sides. And you know, even if and what we talk about, a lot of United fans talk about. So if I was buying Man United, I'd be very aware of the things we're talking about as a fan base. And you know, you'd have to be a complete ostrich, head buried in the sand, not to realise that Man United need players in January. So if you're buying Man United and you're negotiating, you've surely got to be saying to the Glazers, get somebody in January, for God's sake. You know, I'm not pissing about. Get somebody in, because you're making our job a lot harder, and yet you want 6 billion. Sack Eric Ten Hag and change owners, or keep Glazers and then Eric Ten Hag. No. Tiger clause, no. Vod, thank you very much for that. I don't do those. I'm not that. I don't do nonsensical either ors. Like, I'm not going to do it. Sack Ten Hag and get new owners, or keep Ten Hag and keep the Glazers. It's never going to happen, is it? I can't control it, so I'm not going to predict it. Hope Incy gets a good reception at Old Trafford. Do you guys still keep in touch? Would be amazing to get him on for a match preview. Always love the shows you did together. Top bloke, says Joshua. I think he will get a good reception. I hope he gets a good reception. I can't predict whether he'll get a good reception or not, but I think he probably will. Anybody who watched United in that era knows what a good player he was. I'm sure he's very happy about that draw. He's very excited about it. I don't think we'll be able to do a video with him. I'll try, but I don't think we will, because it's the same reason why we've not been doing it all year, really. You know, he's managing a football club now. It's a bit different, isn't it? I mean, those videos were brilliant last year. I mean, he openly would say what he thought, which was great. So I really did enjoy it. We've got a good track record, though. When we get ex-players on, they tend to go on and do good things. It's the United Stand community touch. You know, he's gone and got a job at Reading, and he's done very well there. Ben Foster will be managing Barcelona next. If we get Felix, I'd bench Bruno, says IQ. I just hope we do get João Felix, you know. I really do hope we get him. I'm very locked in on having somebody that can play numerous positions, because we're so weak on the bench in some positions. So I really hope that we do get João Felix in, because everyone's obsessed with the number 9, but who plays at 10? I think Bruno has been a bit inconsistent for the last year. So how are you going to get Bruno playing well 3 times a week every week? It's going to be very difficult. So we just don't have I think the number 10 is a very important thing, and we don't have one beyond Bruno, do we? So it'd be interesting. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for tuning in. I really enjoyed that show tonight. All over the place, ridiculous stories that we've clarified, and you know, for me, I'm still lost on the director of football saying we spent £200 million in the summer. we've got to be careful of financial fair play and continue to be financially disciplined. I mean, to say those words all in the same sentence when you're the director of football, it takes some real balls to do that. Sorry about that last wrong message. Love your videos, mates. Carry on, says Vod. Cheers, pal. Thank you very much for your super chat. We're back tomorrow at 10 o'clock with 10 o'clock in the morning with the latest news. I'm sure there'll be some updates. We've got Fabrizio Romano at 2 o'clock, and then we'll have our 8 o'clock show in the evening. And we've got some good content coming for you around 5 o'clock tomorrow night as well. So keep your ears and eyes open for that. Take care, everyone. Really enjoyed the show. Hope you're all doing well. Legends of the chat, as per usual. United Stand community. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and smash a like. And I will speak to you very soon. There was a Weghorst update, just Kevin. I can't remember when it was, but basically his agent has said it wasn't a farewell last night. Probably playing hard to get. Speak to you in a bit.